Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the ASCORS Grand National. We've got a whole bunch of drivers hungry and waiting for some Daytona action. We're actually going to be racing the evening time racing with the sun going down. My name is Sam Dyer, and with me I've got Tyler Riggs. And Tyler, with the sun setting, there's going to be some glare for these drivers to be worrying about.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to deal with, especially being in a pack. And Sam, when you get behind somebody, you already can't see right most of the track. But not only that, you come off the corner, you see that glare of the sun. That's going to be real difficult to deal with.
And with these drivers, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch everyone out here trying to do their best. Daytona's kind of known as a wild card race, and this is going to be race number 6 of the season. And these drivers, I think this is the time where you're starting to see, as we're getting closer and closer to the halfway marker, when drivers need to start hitting their marks to go for that championship.
Oh, no doubt. And this is a big race, as you mentioned, a wild card race for some guys that maybe feel like they kind of underperformed the first 5 races, come out and do something big here. Or if you're one of those guys, sitting in the top 10 points, top 5, whatever, you might want to be a bit careful here too, because you could all of a sudden have a bad day and then you're going to lose maybe at least a few spots of points.
At least a few stops for sure. As we're starting to get our cars ready for action, we're just going to run through our starting grid here, and it's going to be Will Cooley leading the grid off with the pole.
Yeah, and then you follow that up. That'd be Michael Finlayson taking second there, Evan Rice in third, Donovan Strauss, excuse me, in fourth, Dustin Hall in fifth, Shane Therian there in sixth, Jacob Fisher in seventh, Aaron Mulrooney Jr. in eighth, Zach McSwain in ninth, and Hayden Cardwell in 10th. And of course, you'll see the rest scroll on throughout the broadcast there. Obviously, with this series, you got a lot of experienced drivers, Sam. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys kind of pan out in the first few laps.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers are, we've seen throughout our broadcasts here, usually in other series, and it's going to be fun to see these drivers for 80 laps, wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side action, continue to see, and like we said, the glare, something to watch out for these drivers, as Cooley's going to be leading the way in the 00 machine. I believe Cooley looking to see here where he's running in the points, but Cooley right now running 15th in points, 62 points back from the points leader of Anthony Mulrooney Jr. And waiting to see if Will Cooley, with a win here, would really put him, setting him up to make a bounce back from running 15th right now in points.
Yeah, something I'm noticing too, Sam, with these points, really once you get to about 8th on back, 8th to about 15th or so, there's a lot of positions to be gained potentially today. That's a really tight grouping in terms of points with all those guys. Obviously, mentioned Will Cooley being one of them. So I wonder how much that's going to kind of factor into some of the aggression tonight. You never quite know the mindset of a driver. Some guys just want to go out and win every race. Some just want to sit there and, make good points days happen and try to stay out of trouble.
As they're coming out of 4, pace car lights are out, so we are done with pace laps. It's time for us to get to the action here, with Will Cooley leading the way here in the ASCORS Grand National Series. And the drivers, they are ready to go. Green flag out in the air for 80 laps. It's the 00 leading the way with the 19 on the outside.
Nice even start there by the first 2 rows, Sam. And what's going to be interesting to watch here is who decides to drop back and who decides to go ahead and try to push it from that mid-pack early.
And as they stay still, side-by-side action all the way from 3rd on back, it's all about really figuring out that line. Who's going to be all in line better than the other lane, as usually we'll see that the bottom line is somewhere where the drivers want to be at the start, and later on in the race, that outside line will start to be worked in, as at the moment, it's the 00 still leading the point.
Yeah, another thing, too, in the early going here, you're jockeying to maybe try to find your allies, your teammates, whatever may have you. And not only that, unlike the Cup cars with these Xfinity cars, they don't get as near of a big run due to the aero factor as you would see in the Cup cars. So you almost have to kind of watch yourself and make sure you don't fall too far back off that lead pack early on.
Car off, looked like close to the wall up there, looking to see who that is, and I believe that is a black and red machine. It's running very close to the wall. Got to be careful not to get up into the wall with these drivers, but side-by-side action still, and before I did say the 19. That was the 14, actually, of Michael Finlayson that was running right now in third, leading that top side.
Yeah, just trying to hang tight. You see Shane Therian up there. That 38 kind of gets shuffled out now in the top lane, Sam, and that's the tough part. If you get shuffled out early here, you got to really be careful and make sure you don't make a big mistake.
Evan Rice moved up to the high side and leading that lap right there, so giving himself a bonus point here, and now putting Cooley and Rice now stuck in the sucker hole. As on the outside, it's the 14 machine now, all by his lonesome, needing a little bit of help up there.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. Usually, like you mentioned, typically when the 8 would make a move like that, or a car would make a move, they get stuck in the sucker hole. Wasn't the case. They left Finlayson out to dry.
And Finlayson now going to be dropping back to where Shane is, and those drivers going to try to figure out how to work in their way back up front. But now the new driver that's still leading on the high side, Evan Rice, and Cooley still leading on that inside lane, as the drivers are going to be shuffling back and forth, trying to find the pockets of where they can start moving forward. And it's actually that red, white, and blue M&M's machine that's moving up and down, trying to just find those pockets where you can start moving forward. And now we got a new machine on the high side trying to make things moving forward.
Yeah, it really speaks to the talent of these guys early on, Sam, that they're kind of going after it. That's when you know you have a good group that can sit here and do this. Of course, you got a lot of big names in this field, and we're seeing the talent very early on here.
Yeah, actually, those originally leading that high side, and now in front of him was Zach Novak. Zach Novak now has the 25 machine leading that high side. Is in the middle, it gets a little squirrely there.
My goodness, and yeah, that's a little bit of communication going on there in the driver's chat about that one, and they sorted it out quick.
Yeah, that was Strauss and the 51 machine that got loose, and then forced Evan Rice to move up to the high side. See what Rice can do up on the high side, now getting to get pushed. But Strauss now leading that middle lane, as the car actually is going to duck to the apron and drifting on back.
Trying to find who that is. That might be
that's the 41 of Brandon Mercurio, who's going to be dropping back to around 19th position. We also can see Shane Therian back there as well, with other machines deciding, hey, it's time to just sit back and relax and let these cars up front that are racing hard, 2 to 3 wide, let them make all the chaos and thunder up front.
Yeah, typically this is about that time when you see the separation, you see the group that says, okay, hey, I want to race right now, I want to get my spots, and as you mentioned, you're seeing the group behind us saying, all right, I'm just going to chill a little bit, I see the group we got here, time to ride around and watch ourselves a bit.
Looking on the cars that are running on the high line and pushing the 51 is going to be Zach McSwain, and that machine of the 91, he's going to be trying to make some moves up here. I mean, he's kind of stuck in the sucker hole with everyone else, but trying to shove at least the 51 to the lead as they're still 3 wide, 3 rows back.
And how about that very top lane on the outside? Not a lot of cars attached to it right now, Sam, but they're still making some really good work. Of course, you see Zach Novak right there doing an excellent job of pushing.
That's Jimmy Mullins on the 3rd lane, able to get himself up to the lead for just a moment. But Jimmy Mullins has been on a hot streak so far at the beginning of the season. 2 wins at Darlington and at Phoenix, and trying to make it 3 wins this season so far, as we're right now in race number 6 of 20.
Yeah, Mullins and Novak, of course, good friends, so no surprise here to see them two working together and just, really out there by themselves right now, still holding strong. But watch Donovan Strauss here in the middle. He's kind of a little bit of a wild card at times. I've raced with him, experienced with him. He's a very fast driver, but we get him in these type of situations, he senses he has a shot to get that lead. He's going to not only get it, but try to keep it as much as possible.
Yeah, these drivers have to be careful going through the tri-oval. I mean, that is one of the lightest areas you're going to see your car in. As I'm watching McSwain, he's in that middle groove. As these drivers, they got to be careful of not hitting the apron, and any type of a shuffle can get them close to almost contact with another machine they're around. So everyone kind of feeling the tension at the moment with being 3 wide up front. One simple mistake, we can see the big one early in this race.
Not only that, but these guys are pushing really hard, Sam, up to this front pack. I wonder if we'll start to see a couple guys here the next couple laps maybe have to back up a bit or try to dip out of line just a little bit to make sure they don't overheat that car. That's something you'll always got to watch here at the super speedways.
As we got them 3 wide up front, there, like we said, there are a group of cars that are lingering back and just kind of in cruise control, all single filing up, and that's around about 16th on back. Everyone up here, though, just still all on top of one another.
Yeah, and honestly, those guys in the back, that'd be me right now during this race. My role is stay on the back of the lead pack. What was that, 37?
No, 37.
Yeah.
It's going to be Elliott Henderson who's going to be dropping back now to 19th position, and now part of the group that are all single filed up as they're still 3x3, and a little bit of shuffles and cars themselves working so far as they're still trying to save their machines. I think that's the 17 possibly. Oh no, that was the 86. And got loses more contact in the back. That was the 48. And there goes the 9. First caution of the day as multiple machines just went for a ride. I believe that started around the 48 machine. We'll take a look back to see all the carnage that just took place as these drivers, it all started with up front, but it finished off with the cars in the back.
Yeah, that's what we call the accordion effect there, Sam. Once, especially in a big pack like that, once things start going crazy up front, it's just really hard to stop it anytime quick, and that's what you saw right there. Just basically a long wreck, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean the actual contact that brought out our caution looked like it was actually from the 9 machine, but the initial contact that we saw there was from the 48 in that last replay. From the 48 contact with the 13 and the 38. That brought up the caution. But here's how the 9 machine went around as he was all the way in the back, saw the contact. He's on the top of the screen coming in now, and looks like he's trying to avoid everyone, hits the 13, and around he goes. So it was the 13 and the 9 that brought out the caution officially.
Yeah, it's definitely tough there for Cody Tabor and, of course, Nate Stewart that he got caught up with. It's one of those situations, Sam. You're trying to judge everything, back there, and you can't really see up front very well. So you're trying to react and not run over anybody, and all of a sudden everything just kind of comes up in on top of you like that.
Riding on board with Nate Stewart as the carnage was in front of him. You can see the cars starting to scatter in front of him. He's trying to get around the 19 and the 48, and they're still slow and trying to get by. Then gets clipped and around he goes into Shane Terrian and back in the 48 and through the grass and up into the track, bringing the caution. There's the contact with the 9. A very hard hit for these drivers, and they're probably going to spend most of the day now in the pits trying to get those repairs done because you kind of need a clean car to run well here at Daytona.
Yeah, you do. I mean, any sort of damage, fender, rear spoiler, anything like that's drastically going to hurt you in terms of trying to, draft well and trying to be pushed well too. That could affect, how you do as a lead car, which is, you want to be a good lead car, but if you got damage, it's going to really hinder you big time.
As drivers come into the pits, you might be wondering what's that orange glow that comes up every once in a while. That's the sun setting that's causing these glows for the drivers out here. So as these drivers are getting ready to come in the pits, it's going to be Strauss coming out and going to be leading the way in first place and keeping that first place position for the 51 machine. Now, Tyler, I mean, you are usually out here racing in other leagues, but you've been here at Daytona a couple of times. Are you surprised to see all these drivers running 3 wide this early on in this race?
For a typical group, Sam, I would say yes, but seeing the names in this field and just knowing kind of their backgrounds in terms of their qualifications of, the talent they have, I'm not. Those guys are out there running it confidently. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, as we've seen early on here, but this group is going to get after it. That's what you're going to see all race.
And they're going to continue to be after it. Like we saw, it was the top about 18 to 17 drivers all staying 3 wide for most of that first 10 laps there. As a lot of machines into the pits and trying to get repairs done. It looks like from about 14th on back, all those drivers came into the pits and got a lot of contact there, a lot of damage getting repaired for a lot of machines in the back that I'm kind of surprised to see.
Well, as what it probably was is, maybe it was a bit of a fender tap or something like that. We saw a couple guys bounce off aprons and, bounce around there in the middle of the pack. So they just do it now, get it out of the way early to be safe. It probably maybe isn't the biggest damage for some of those guys. You just want to get repaired, make sure you're at full strength here.
And looking at the cars up front, our top three of Stratus, Mulrooney, as well as Rice, all took just fuel. Everyone else decided to go with either 4 tires or 2 tires, as the drivers are going to be coming through the straightaway here, trying to get everyone situated before we get things underway again. Again, this is only our first caution of the day for 80 laps, and we know that the intensity will crank up again at some point, but during these Daytona races, there's usually that lull period in the middle of the race. But like you said, these guys are all high-profile racers, and we're used to seeing them in the high tiers of iRacing. Are we expecting there to be a lull period at all during this race, or is it going to be constant 3-wide action all race long?
I think it'll be constant 3-wide action. That being said, there is, for these guys, it's going to sound kind of like what, but there's a lull period within that 3-wide. I mean, you kind of get, settled into your line being 3-wide because, like I said, these guys are high tier. So that's just the norm for them. Is what you're going to really have to watch is if, some of these mid-pack guys maybe aren't as comfortable being stuck in the middle, Sam, especially surrounded, outside, inside. Being in that middle line 3-wide is not a fun feeling when you're boxed in, sitting about 13th or 14th, something like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit chaotic up here for these drivers. Looking, and I believe the pace car lights are off, so we should be going this time by. The cars are stacked up, ready to go, as we're coming up to lap 14 of 80 laps being ran so far. These drivers have been already putting on a great show for us to watch, and we're excited to see more of it. This is the ASCORS Grand National Series. The pace car is off, and the green flag back in the air as Stratus pulling us along.
Donovan there with a pretty good start. Didn't get out too far ahead, but made sure to take control there on the inside line, and that's an art to it, folks. I mean, if you try to jump out too far ahead in super speedways, they'll dump you real quick, and you'll get passed around pretty quick. They did it pretty good there.
And we were just on the bumper cam of Stratus and saw Rice on the back bumper of the 51 machine trying to push him along and get him moving forward. Now, we were talking about cars running in the back. Other machines back there, I mean, you've got cars that are damaged up, but still a lot of machines that still look pretty good from about 20th to about 26th. Still, those machines will be cars to watch out for later on in this race, but up front, it's been the 51, the 8, as well as the 2 that have just been up front most of this race.
Yeah, and they're just, looking real smooth, Sam. I mean, that's what you got to do to be up front, especially in a group like this, because if you're, uneasy, unsteady at all, you will not get the help. Nobody's going to work with a guy that looks a little too slidey, a little too, bouncy in terms of the super speedways.
Car stuck on the outside, trying to get some help. That's the 7 machine that's running up there as these cars already thinking about getting 3-wide action, at least back in the top 10 position. We'll see if our top drivers up front in our top 10 will think about that. But for the moment, it's the 51 as well as the 2 kind of just pulling everyone along.
Yeah, Strauss and Mulrooney Jr. right now just kind of, doing it out there up front. And, Mulrooney, I haven't ran against a whole lot. I've ran against Strauss quite a bit. And I told you, he's going to hold that lead as much as he possibly can. He's not going to be a guy that's going to easily give it up. That being said, he's got to have a lot of trust in Evan Rice and that 8 behind him.
They are going to continue racing hard as they are still right on top of one another. And like you said, these guys are some of the top drivers in iRacing, racing right now in the series tonight. And we've watched other series where they kind of get in this spot where they just kind of linger around. It's going to be the 2 dropping to the bottom, bringing out the 25 of Terrell Baker, now leading that high side. We'll see if the 25 machine can move himself up into the front. It's getting a little bit squirrely coming out of 4.
Well, look at the 2. I mean, Donovan Strauss at 51 is all over Mulrooney Jr. right there. I mean, he is not letting up at all. Typically, when a guy comes down like that, you got to be careful and maybe have to check up a bit. Strauss did not do that, Sam. And Mulrooney Jr. did a great job of holding on to him.
Well, that 2 machine of Mulrooney is leading the points. He's finished every single race in the top 10. Only has 1 top 5 this season, but it's that consistency that has him in the lead of the points at the moment by 2. And it's Jimmy Mullis, who has 2 wins this season, that's back in 2nd place. You gotta wonder, it's the consistency that is giving this 2 machine the points lead and leading the point at this race.
Yeah, and speaking of Mullis, he's back there in the back of the pack. He's one of those guys I think you mentioned kind of stayed on pit road a little longer than what you would have thought. But he's maybe kind of taken an approach of just, lying in wait. He saw the craziness there in the first 10 laps. So that'd be interesting to watch here as we go on.
Yeah, you see Jimmy Mullis back here leading that pack. That's back here is actually Shane Tarian and the 38 machine, as they're kind of just on the brink of losing the draft to the 48 machine, who's just about to lose the draft as well to the lead pack. So these drivers might be in a kind of a situation where they could be losing this lead pack that are all 3 wide once again.
Yeah, that outside line, it's a couple cars up there just trying to get after it. And I tell you what, the guy in the middle that I'm going to watch right here is Derek Justice in that 16. This is another one of those top guys we're talking about. He's been really on Tyrell Baker since they've taken control of that outside line. But I wonder if he'll back off a little bit, Sam, to make sure Baker doesn't get uncomfortable at the wrong moment.
That was Nate Stewart that they were passing through that trial there. And Baker holding on, and Derek Justice wants to be leading this charge. He's got a fast 31 machine, and at the moment, 61 machine. I am just struggling with the word 16 machine. I'm used to seeing him in the 31 in other leagues, so it's kind of different seeing him in the 16.
And here he goes up to that top lane, trying to make it work. Had 80 Turner up there in that 99. Took advantage of the gap he got, decided that Baker maybe wasn't the right partner for him. And here comes Finlayson to fill the gap that Justice was in.
And Finlayson right on the back bumper of the 25, trying to push him along. And at 14, it started out second, trying to get back up front and leading one of these lanes, but still has to push the 25 as Tyrell Baker really looking strong since he's gotten up into the lead. And it doesn't matter who's pushing him. This 25 looks strong right now.
Oh, a little bit of looseness there from Mulrooney Jr. Got off the apron, Sam, but he collected it back. I told you, Donovan Strauss has not let up on that back bumper, and it's almost caused a couple of mistakes.
And, these drivers that are on the inside, they got to be careful of not hitting the apron, and that's been shooting them up. Oh, no! Baker loose! He's saving it right now, but around they go up front as it's the 2 car that makes contact. The 31 spins around, and more drivers, more contact. The 3 as well, and that is just what happens when a car gets loose up front, as it all started with the 25 machine of Baker getting loose and somehow saving that machine up front, but it cost the 2 of Mulrooney.
Yeah, Mulrooney, they were taking the big hit. Novak as well got clipped, but he saved it. And we're going to have to see it back here. I don't know if the 25 hit the apron or no. Oh, Sam, the 2 might have committed the golden rule of what not to do in the corner, and that's put that bumper to somebody. Or Mulrooney Jr. maybe just got a little bit too aggressive trying to push that 25.
Baker just got to the bottom, and you're going to see here, got contact on that rear left, got him spinning around, and yeah, Zach Novak got a little bit of contact, but he was able to save it. But he saw other machines were not as lucky as they went spinning around everywhere up front. But like we said, the 2 of Mulrooney probably got the worst of that.
Yeah, and that's tough. I mean, it's, these guys are pushing super hard. We know that, but with the aero technology, I guess I would put it, of these cars, currently whether it's Xfinity or Cup, Sam, you just cannot really shove in that corner. If you do, you have to hit it pretty much perfect, and even then, it still might hit the guy loose. So maybe just a bit of a miscalculation there, and that's unfortunate, as it definitely cost a couple guys.
Dustin Hall in the 31, you saw there multiple times getting clipped there. Also, Stratus got some damage. I believe also the Evan machine got some damage. But right now in this one, we're going to be watching the 31 all the way on the outside. That's been his spot, and just gets clipped and spins around and making contact with the 7 there on the inside. Bringing out caution number 2, and this time even more machines involved. I don't think we've really had our true big one just yet. But we're just showing how much these drivers are willing to throw out with these 3 wide racing. That's kind of the risk that you put yourself in.
Yeah, and a couple, we mentioned some of the guys involved there. You mentioned Dustin Hall, Evan Rice took a big shot as well in that. He was hitting Mulrooney Jr. Another guy too that was almost kind of working his way up there at one point. That was Nicholas Sadowski in that 7 or showing up as 42 on the ticker. Probably he took a big shot there from Hall at the end of that one. So, like you said, maybe not quite the big one, but definitely quite a few good cars swept up in that.
And right now there is actually a driver in front of our leaders that is smoking, and we're trying to figure out who that is. That is the 13 of Nate Stewart that is blown up, and he is just trying to cruise that 13 machine to the pits to get it worked on.
Yeah, I was already a few laps down. I was got involved in that first wreck and was just trying to make best of what he could. And unfortunately, it looks like the engine has definitely gave out on him here.
And it looks like we are going to be seeing these drivers get back to green here in the next couple of laps, but up front, it's going to be the 99 of Evan Kerner, as well as Derek Justice are front two. Zach Novak, who we saw get a little bit of contact, he actually only took some fuel and is getting back out there. And that contact I don't think it hurt him too much, as the spoiler looks pretty okay for that 90 machine.
Yeah, Novak just kind of took a tap and they kicked him loose, and he did a phenomenal job of saving it. Made sure he didn't take any big damage, and of course was in front of the wreck more so than anything, so didn't really have the chance to get swooped up in it that way. But yeah, how about Eddie Kerner up here in that 99? Sam, we saw him, working that outside, was kind of left hung to dry before that big wreck, so he's probably feeling good about being in the lead now.
Yeah, getting a little bit of help in that 99 machine, and Finlayson actually being in fourth. Stratus still up here after his contact that he was part of, so our field kind of shrinking in a way where a lot of the drivers that were up front for most of this race are now going to have to be in the back. We'll see if they can make their way forward, as still on pits getting damage repair is the 9 and the 13, and everyone else still on track. So that's giving us a total of 28 drivers still running on track and still on the lead lap.
Yeah, a guy I'm going to watch on this restart when we get to it here, Sam, is going to be Will Cooley, our pole sitter. He kind of, after that first pit stop, had fallen back a little bit. Wasn't sure if he's trying to hang back or not, but he slowly started to pick his way up through the field before that last caution. We'll see how aggressive he is trying to get back to the lead here on this restart.
Cooley's going to be starting on the third row outside, and Zach Novak saying hello to Finlayson on the outside as well in the second row, as the 90 machine was getting pretty close to the 14.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
this is
good. Well, it looks like pace car lights are off. Going to be pulling off to the side as we're going to get back under green here at the start of lap 24. These drivers going to have 57 laps to go in this one, and Tyler, it's still a long race for these drivers to go.
Yeah, and I mean, if we get a green flag run, then these guys could be facing green flag pit stop. I mean, if your run's just over 40 laps or so, probably closer to maybe pushing 50, depending on how you save. So, see if they kind of settle down a little bit. What happens there as far as a green flag run?
As you're seeing cars dip to the inside, deciding it's time to go to the back. That's actually leave the 31, and that's actually the 22 and the 19 as they're getting into the grass. For a second there, but drivers that I was seeing up front in this front group, and they're the black and green machines. They're both evil controllers. That's Shane Tarian, who we saw have some contact in their first caution, and also Nick Massey, as those drivers running at the moment 9th and 10th at the back of this front pack. While we're watching Zach Novak pushing Curry in the 99 machine.
Yeah, and you mentioned Massey and Tarian there. Massey, he's been kind of quiet this race. Obviously, we saw Shane deal with some, trying to avoid some incidents, but Nick is one of those guys that, similar to all these other guys, he's going to play his own type of race here, run his own race, and sure enough, starting to assert himself.
Yeah, this is Nick's first race here in ASCORS, so we're excited to see what this 29 machine can do here tonight, as he's running the outside line and the evil controller that's still with this front pack, as Shane's going to be dropping back to lead that second pack of machines. They're going to try to catch up.
Yeah, and the second pack is kind of really interesting because it's got a mix of a little bit of damaged cars and some guys that I think really are just making sure they don't get involved in any of that drama that we've seen here in the first 30 laps. So I wonder how long this will last, Sam, and it really lends for this front pack that's, not a lot of cars to kind of do what they want in terms of going at it.
Yeah, you got 17 of Brandon Mullen as well as Elliot Harrelson. These drivers driving their way up to this front pack as the 99 machine actually got pushed up to the third lane and is now dropping back as well. Now leaving Zach Novak leading the lead as well as Derek Justice leading that outside lane. Other drivers that are back here in 13th position, you got Cosmin Ishinoshu that we're seeing that 24 machine and rocking a pretty nice rainbow retro scheme, but a little bit different than that Jeff Gordon formerly used to run.
What you call maybe, kind of a fantasy throwback scheme, right? Modified, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, good looking scheme for sure. A lot of these guys obviously got some great schemes that
like a modern affected, moderned up retro scheme.
There you go. Vintage, right? There we go.
Yeah. As Derek Justice pulling that outside lane as well as Finlayson. Finlayson now going to be ducking to the inside of the 16 machine. A fantastic move there, putting himself into the lead on the bottom side.
Yeah, these guys know you do not want to give Derek Justice control of this field because once he gets up there, he will be very tough to pass. So it seems like every time he's tried to make a move, he's been countered by it. And sure enough, Zach Novak as well gets around Justice up there. So Justice now kind of boxed in on the outside in the second spot there on the outside.
Well, on the inside, watching that 84 machine, third from the inside lane, that's Jacob Fisher. We haven't really talked about Jacob Fisher that much, but he's fourth in points at the moment as he is 7 points away from taking the lead in the points. And right now, looking like a great day for these drivers that are just on the cusp of taking the points lead. I mean, with having Aaron Mulrooney having such a terrible day, he's going to be back in 27th, still getting damage repaired for that 2 machine. So the points lead is up in the air this race if you can get a good run for the drivers that are about in the 6th or better in points.
Oh, yeah, that's what we talked about at the start of the broadcast, right? I mean, if you're a guy that's kind of maybe underperformed a little bit or this and that, this is a race where you can gain a lot. And sure enough, points leader goes down early on right now. It looks like it may be tough for him to climb back up. So, Jacob Fisher of the world, they're licking their lips and trying to make sure that they gain as much as they can off this one.
Update on drivers that have exited the race early. The 42 of Nicholas Sadowski is going to be out of this race, as well as Evan Race and the 8 machine. Both of them running 26th and 28th, and also in 30th place. Cody Tabor is going to be exiting out in the 9.
Yeah, tough break for those guys. We mentioned Evan Rice was up here battling up front, the top 5 most of the time. But obviously here at Daytona, all it takes is one mistake and your race can be done very quickly.
Yeah, and then I think Aaron Mulrooney noticed that drivers are exiting out of this race, so he's getting back on track, getting put another lap down in that 2. Currently 3 laps down.
Ooh, look, contact up front there. Looks like Brian
shuffling. Cars all over the place. They're 3-4 wide in the middle of the pack, but up here in the top 5, they're all just 2x2. Is everyone now able to get themselves situated? But I believe that was 17 of Mullen who is stuck on that 3rd lane, dropping back like a rock in the black and red machine.
Yeah, that second group, Sam had kind of caught back up to the first group, and Brian C. Mullen was the guy that was making that charge on the very outside, and there's just a little bit of contact on the corner, shoved him up into the wall. Everybody did an excellent job to make sure there's no big wreck out of that one.
Derek Justice, you talked about don't let him be up front. Well, that's where he's at the moment, but coming from the inside, Zach Novak is not giving this thing away. Holding strong on the inside, getting pushed by the 14 of Michael Finlayson.
Yeah, that's a strong duo down there in Zach Novak and Finlayson. Don't get me wrong, Justice is tough. We know Will Coley's been leading up here, but boy, doesn't get much better than Zach Novak and Michael Finlayson on the bottom like that.
And they're going to continue to run as hard as they can right now, and they are trying to hold up on that inside, but on the outside, you got Cooley, our pole sitter, as well as Derek Justice, and don't look now, they've got a little bit more help from the 51 machine and others, as Zach Novak tried to use the block, not able to hold off the 16.
Yeah, this is the tough part here of what we call high-level super speedway racing, right? Typically, you just ride in your lane, you can let the momentum push. But if you're a Novak or a Justice, you know you can't always do that, and you have to kind of play mind games. Do you peak high? Do you try to get some side draft in the straightaways? It's really a mental challenge every corner with these guys.
Cooley's going to continue doing his thing. Now going to be pushing Novak in the middle lane, which is going to shove Justice into the third, and he's got no help up there in the third lane. Who's going to move up and help the 16, or are they just going to let him drop to the back? As I say that, some cars were thinking about helping, but thought otherwise.
Yeah, that's a cruel spot to be if you're Derek Justice right now. You're just hoping, you're praying somebody jumps up there, but most likely that's not going to be the case. So you just got to kind of ride it out, and he's going to have to climb the ladder again to get back up front.
And we know it's possible to get back up here. As Jimmy Mullis in that 46 machine, we were just talking about how he was running in the back about, I would say, 10, 13 laps ago. He's now up to 8th place, running on that inside line and trying to make that thing work. Actually, I think that, yeah, he's on the inside line, side by side with the 51 machine. And he's just trying to work that way up forward for the 46.
He's got Elliot Henderson right there in that 37. Timmy Paglioli in that 86 as well. I mean, there's some guys that have been a little quiet in the early going here, but noticing that the field's thinning it out a bit, they're saying, all right, might be time to go ahead and assert myself up here.
And it looks like Derek Justice able to finally drop himself into position back in 15th place. So that 16 machine has a lot of work to do, as not a lot of people are trying to make a third lane work, and I think we're in that what we would call a lull period where the drivers stay in 2x2.
Yeah, and we're probably in that point too where we're about, getting closer to halfway through a field run, and these guys are really starting to say, okay, do we start to strategize and, find our allies, find our teammates, if you will, to make sure we set ourselves up for a good green flag pit stop? Because obviously, if it goes green, Sam, it doesn't matter necessarily where you're running before the pit stops. As long as you're the lead pack, or with the lead pack, and you could have a really clean pit stop with a couple of guys, you could gain a lot of time just by doing that.
A ton of time could be gained by the right pit stop, not missing your pit stall. I mean, that's going to be some keys for these drivers, as you can lose and win a race by the mistakes that you can make on coming into the pits during a green flag pit stop. And these drivers probably be thinking about that pit stop here in the next possibly 20 to 30 laps or so, which is going to put them about 25 laps short from the end of this race.
Yeah, and that'd be kind of your money stop, because we talked about the fuel being about half a race. As long as you get to lap 40 here, which we will be within the next few laps, the next 5 or so, you've got the open window at that point on to decide, okay, do we come now? Do we wait till the last possible minute? And the other thing with this elite of a group, it's going to be fun to watch how hard they try to push it into pit road and how hard they try to get off pit road, because that's another area to gain some time.
As Cooley going to be trying to make that third lane work, which leaves the 51. The 51 is stuck in that sucker hole. We'll see if anyone wants to help him out, but not looking like going to be getting too much help. As I say that, Cooley finally dropping behind the 51. It looks like that was kind of a swap of positions for those drivers, as now leading that outside lane is actually going to be the 14 of Michael Finlayson.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see that where guys feel, okay, hey, I don't want to be out in front, or I'm better push, more comfortable pushing. That's maybe kind of what went on right there. He left Donovan Strauss what looked to be in the sucker hole for a minute, but sure enough, he got some help back behind him, and getting Finlayson as well up to the lead. And now here comes Strauss trying to challenge on the outside.
Well, another thing to look out for these drivers is the fact that, we've seen so many guys being right on top of another driver. You could be overheating, so that swapping of giving a driver the lead, the point, is kind of for these drivers to watch out and help their temps just a little bit. As the car got very close to the outside wall there, you got to be careful not to scrape it and injure your vehicle any more than some of these drivers have already done.
Yeah, I think that was Jimmy Mullis out there really riding what you call probably the Dell Jr. line, right? Way up top.
Oh boy! That was a car that faded into another one. The 37 almost took out most of this field in the middle.
I saw the 17 actually.
Oh, actually, that was the 17.
Yeah, he had some issues going on there. Thankfully, that didn't affect anything, because we've seen that turn out way worse in other situations.
Yeah, I mean, usually when we see that happen, it causes one of the drivers to absolutely just turn sideways. But luckily, they faded into one another and easily were able to get apart. That is something to watch out for the 17, because I've been watching them be blinking almost all race long, and that's something that a lot of these drivers are going to be probably pointing out of, hey, you're blinking, let's drop to the back, just watch this thing for now until your internet gets figured out. As up front, they're all 3 wide, leading the points, Jimmy Mullis.
Yeah, he's come out of nowhere on that outside, finally got the help, and sure enough, here he goes. Now he dropped down in front of Finlayson. He's got Will Cooley behind him in that line. That's a strong line. Sure enough, you still got Donovan Strauss, who went from top to bottom, Sam, and he's doing all he can to try to hold off Mullis in the group.
Strauss is trying everything he can to keep this lead as drivers behind, trying to figure out how do we get in front of the 51 who we thought was going to drop to the back, then got help to be pushing him back up front, now leading that inside line with Zach Novak helping in the 90.
Yeah, and you notice Novak is not letting up on his bumper, so what that's telling me, typically when that happens, if you want to kind of maybe force a guy to make a mistake or have to get out of line, you stay on that bumper. Obviously, you don't try to spin him, but that's a way to kind of influence the line without having to necessarily make a risky move.
Is that something that you want to see as a 2-car being lapped once again on the outside? Do you want to really be pushing someone that hard and forcing a mistake when they're on the inside, still side by side for the lead, where you could possibly force this driver to make a mistake with someone else? And I know these drivers are top tier, but still seems like a risk to make.
I mean, it is, but it's calculated risk knowing the guy that you are shoving is good enough to handle it, obviously. And for, Novak and Mullis, we know they're friends. So, and here, sure enough, Novak was using that momentum, staying on Strauss's bumper so he could jump up right there in front of Jimmy Mullis.
Still another fantastic move that the 90 machine has made once again for Zach Novak. We'll continue to watch and see for these drivers up front, but I think everyone that's kind of drifted back, that were having troubles, they're kind of coming back. The 25 machine, Baker, he's moved his way up to the tail end of this field, and guess who he's behind? The 16 of Derek Justice, and they're kind of looking like they're not waiting to go up front just yet. They might be preparing for that pit stop to finally then make a charge to the lead.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, these guys are trying to sort that out. You mentioned Baker working his way back up, or at least being able to stay with the lead pack. So what that tells me, Sam, is that the damage maybe isn't too terrible, but he may not necessarily be a guy that you want in front of a line. So we'll have to kind of watch that and see how other cars treat him as it goes throughout here.
As dashing up and down the 51 machine, trying to figure out how do I make my back bumper bigger than it actually is. As Zach Novak once again making that move to the outside, trying to get by the 51. It looks like he finally got the momentum that time, and a huge shove from Jimmy Mullis, pushing the 90 up to the lead.
Yeah, they calculated that one really well. They figured out, where's going to be the best point to slingshot. That's what you saw him do the first time. Novak tried it, didn't quite work, so he said, okay, let's try this again. And sure enough, they get the proper run off 3 and 4, and that's going to get them both out front there.
I believe, the 17, Brandon Mullen back into the action up front, and he's blinking once again, so these drivers have to be aware of where the 17 car is so they don't have another incident like they had before where he blinked back inside of another machine.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. How much is that going to affect that outside line, Sam? Because he's the third car on the outside there. If you can't be, confident enough to be up on his back bumper, you see it right here where Finlayson pretty much is, not getting the push, and now he's going to be overtaken, and Donovan Strauss is going to try to use that outside line to get back up front.
I mean, it's Zach McSwain who is behind the 17 and the 91 that we're on board with. He is trying to figure out how do I help myself, because if he gets too much of a momentum and then the 17 just disappears on his screen, he has to tell everyone to back off because there's a chance of him spawning back inside of the 91 machine, as you're seeing that inside line really be working, and Strauss still doing the same thing, getting back up front and blocking everybody.
Yeah, Finlayson gave him a great push down that straightaway. And, of course, as soon as he could, Strauss just ducks back down. Now Mullis and Novak, you might see him do some shuffling to try to get hooked back up here.
Well, here's the thing. Novak's done the same move about 3 or 4 times in a row now. You got to be thinking that he's just, okay, playing this around. How many laps can I lead by doing this? And also keeping that in the back of his mind of a move that he can do later on in this race.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely testing and seeing, who's getting the shove now, who he thinks he can maybe trust down the road. Because obviously, when you get down to those last couple laps, allies, friends, all that goes out the window. You gotta know the guys around you and what they might do when you make some of these moves. That's also a big part of it.
And looking at where the drivers are running now and last time they came into the pits, it looks like they're about 20 to 18 laps away from coming into the pits to do a green flag pit stop. If we stay green, that is. And we see these drivers come and have a caution here in the most basically from here to the end. That could be your money stop to make it to the end here, but you know, we've seen these drivers, they've been running pretty tame but aggressive at the same time. You know that level's going to crank up even more when we come to the final 15 laps of this race.
Oh, no doubt. Really, you know, you speak to the tameness. The tameness has really been had by the mid-pack. We saw early on, you know, a lot of guys were trying to jockey for position, making it 3 wide, doing this and that. Now it's kind of cooled down to really just the, you know, first few are the ones trying to make the move, just, you know, overtaking each other for the leads. You see Dom Strauss go back to the point now, and that mid-pack is really going to decide if we stay green or if there is a caution soon.
Now, Tyler, with these drivers running around up front and, like I've been saying, just jostling back and forth, as a mid-pack driver at the moment who's really not trying to move up just yet, how do you try to set yourself up for this green flag pit stop here? I mean, usually you want to get up to the inside as quick as possible, but do you also try to get in line with other drivers that you know you're going to come in with, or are you okay with being split up?
Oh, you absolutely want to make sure you got some guys around you that you can trust to go into the pits with you cleanly and then get out quickly. So, because you want to get hooked up soon, you want to gain that time. I mean, doing that, you might end up being the lead pack, you know, or the lead of the pack once they all kind of get packed together after the green flag stops. That being said, definitely harder than it sounds. You think you just drop to the inside, but you'll see it here, you know, in the next segment of laps or so when we get a little bit closer to that pit window, that the side's going to get stacked up, and that's where maybe we can have some issues with guys checking up and whatnot.
Guys trying to figure out where they're going to be. Other strategies to be thrown out, though, is we've seen a lot of drivers doing a lot of fuel-only pit stops. A couple have done 4-tire stops already in this race. When you're coming in for the final stretch, do you just go with a fuel-only, or do you have to come in and take tires at this point?
Really depends on the track condition and seeing how this is. I think we said it was going in even, but it looks like it might actually be coming into the morning, Sam, from what I'm seeing on the timer and stuff, which is kind of interesting. But with how early it is in the session in terms of that, I don't know if the track will really heat up. So if you don't have a hot track, I don't know if you need those tires because you're not going to really wear them out as is. Might not be too slidey. So I'd say based on this track condition, you know, fuel only stop is definitely viable.
Oh boy, our front runner's looking a little dicey there for a quick second as Strauss as well as Jimmy Mullis almost ran into one another coming into the corner number 1, able to straighten things out. Zach Novak leading the way. We'll see whoever else wants to be trying the Zach Novak kind of move out of board, as that move has been solid to keeping that 90 machine leading the way coming across the line. As Zach Novak going to be blocking the outside line, almost contact between the 51 and the 46, but able to keep things straight for now. It's coming across the line that time. Zach Novak able to lead the way.
Yeah, and you know, Mullis right now down there on the bottom is kind of acting as a safety net for Zach a little bit, let him kind of do his thing. But right now you're seeing the inside's got a really good push, so Jimmy Mullis here might be able to kind of sneak a few laps into the lead.
You've got Jimmy Mullis as well as, I believe that's the 14. I take that back. Actually, it's the 86 machine of Tommy who's leading the way there, as well as Nick Massey, all trying to make that inside line work on the inside line.
Yeah, it's very consistent right now. Those guys are really smooth there on the bottom, and that, especially in these Xfinity cars, Sam, as opposed to the Cup cars, as long as everybody's smooth, you don't need as many guys stacked up to get a good push. I mean, we've seen that a little bit with some of the 3 wide scenarios. You see Zach Novak work his way back in front of Jimmy Mullis.
And they just continue to shuffle back and forth between the 90 and the 51. They just cannot figure out who they want to actually keep leading this race. And is that a little bit of these drivers just try to have fun with this, or is their strategy being told here by the drivers swapping back and forth?
Well, you know, for a Novak or a Strauss up here that's kind of making those moves, you're just trying to gauge, you know, right now you can gauge pretty well how much slack somebody's giving you when you're making these moves, and you know you could pretty much take away that slack when it comes down to the end. So it's a good way for them to test some things, gauge what's going to work at the end maybe or what's not. For everybody else, they're pretty much just standing pat, you know, riding clean and, you know, hoping they could probably get to these green flag pit stops.
And as you can see, our front 3 single filed up, and it's the 51 leading the high side, but he has dropped back to 5th place for Strauss. And you know that he's going to be getting back up there at some point, but who will be actually leading the high side now? As it looks like it's the 86 machine. I mean, the 80, yeah, it's
80,
the 84,
yep,
excuse me.
Yep, Jacob Fisher just saw the opportunity, and Sam, what caused that is Aaron Mulroney Jr. right there. They passed as a lap car, and that kind of made the outside have to check up a little bit because he was really up top. They were trying to make sure he had space, and just that little bit of slack caused Jacob Fisher to be able to take advantage.
I know, probably by the end of this race, I'll know everyone's name based off their scheme. But man, it's been fun watching these guys. They have all just been putting on a show so far. 29 laps to go, and we're inching about 10 laps away from seeing our what possibly could be our final pit stop of the day.
Yeah, and the real question is, Sam, how far do you stretch it, right? Like, do you want to be able to take fuel only and pit with 10 to go and, make sure you got a bunch of time gained that way? It'll be interesting to see who the first group is that dives off into pit road, because that could really affect the rest of the drivers out there and make them go, okay, I got to get in now, or else I'm not going to have anybody to draft with soon.
Yeah, and what's super interesting to watch for the cars that are running up front at the moment, you've got Fisher and Mullis, and both of them are up in the top 5 of points. Right now, Jimmy Mullis second, Fisher is in 4th, as they are all within 10 points away from taking the lead away from the two of Mulrooney. And as long as they can run up here in the top 5 or so, both of them will be moving up at least another position just based off where the 2 is running at the moment.
Yeah, this is pretty much a battle for the points lead, right? Based off what's happened to that 2 car. Now, these 2 obviously have to be careful to not wind up in the same fate he's experienced today, but if they keep it clean, yeah, this could come down to somebody making a decision to go with somebody or not go with somebody based off the fact that, hey, if I can stay ahead of the other guy, I'll be the points leader after this one.
Also, you got to think of bonus points of leading the lap, and that's why we're starting to see the 84 Fisher trying to make this this middle lane, I should say, moving forward. And Fisher's trying to do everything he can at the moment, and he's doing a good job. He's got 2 machines that have been quick all race long, with the 51 and the 14 following suit. But that's almost about it. It's coming to the high side. Strauss is saying it's my turn to move as Finlayson follows suit.
Yeah, good moves right there from those 2. The 91 and the 54 up there were doing a good job. That was McSwain and Cardwell doing a great job of holding that lane strong. And sure enough, Strauss, Finlayson see that, and they decide they want to take advantage.
Also, Derek Justice, we saw him fade back to 16th place. Guess what? He's up here in the top 10, running 7th at the moment, 3rd in line in the middle lane.
Yeah, doing it the hard way by boxing himself in pretty much in the middle. And, that's a scary spot to be in. And look at Eddie Kerner in that 99 also has worked his way back up here.
Kerner, I believe it was on that first restart after our first caution, was up front after the pit stops in the 99, trying to get back up front where he once was. He drifted back after that second caution, and now all leading that 3rd lane after some Derek Justice pulling him along. Man, these drivers are really trying to get a little bit racy here, and you got to know they're also trying to get up front just because they're trying to get set up for that green flag pit stop.
Yeah, it's a lot of jockeying right now. Guys are trying to get bonus points. Guys are trying to watch and find their allies, their teammates for these pit stops. I mean, it's all sorts of craziness. You saw Jimmy Mullis get that lap led by jumping up in front of Eddie Kerner there. And that leaves Derek Justice in a spot to maybe take the lead here if the outside's strong enough.
Derek Justice, he's in that 3rd lane. That failed him last time, but he's got some friends this time around, pushing that 16 car up to 4th place and leading the charge. Possibly could be up in the lead here if they keep on moving along.
That inside line lost a lot of support. Now Mullis jumps back down in front of it, but that may not be the lane to be. That middle line, maybe it might be the smoothest one coming out of the corner here. We'll see.
Smoothest so far. And here comes the 99 machine, and it looks like he's going to be there across the line. Actually, go to Mullis. And the 46 on that inside lane, that's starting to get a lot more help as more cars start to get up front into this lead pack.
And Derek Justice once again gets left out to dry up there in the 3rd lane, Sam. That's got to be frustrating.
Well, at least he knows if he has some friends, he can make that 3rd lane work for later on in the race. I think at this point, drop back, get into a single file lane, and just keep yourself out of trouble. You know you can get up there in about 5 laps or so keep yourself aware for the final 10.
No doubt about it. And really, I think you start. Oh, apron trouble right there for Finlayson, baby.
And Finlayson is going to be dropping back to 12th place and still dropping more as Derek Justice able to get by. 14 machine. Now looks like he might be settling it out around 12th, 13th place. But these cars are starting to single file up. We once were 3 wide, and the way that they're starting to shuffle around makes me think that they're thinking about pit stops here in the next couple of laps.
Oh yeah, it's definitely coming. There's too much breakup going on, especially in the back of the pack. Told you the mid pack would kind of be the decider between do you keep it green or do you bring out that caution? Sure enough, those guys calmed down quite a bit, and I think you're definitely looking at some pit stops here within the next few laps.
And we're watching to see right now on board 44 of Zach Nicholas. And that machine waiting to see who's going to be pulling in. Doesn't look like anyone this time lap, but up front, it's going to be Derek Justice who's making some bold moves in the back of this front pack, as he's going to be right on the back bumper of, believe that's Nick Massey in what on his screen, the 20 machine, but on our telemetry, the 29. As the 99 gets shuffled up.
Yeah, got a little bit of contact there, I think, from either the 84 or the 86, that'd be Fisher or Pacquioli, and I think the 86 lagged a little bit, and he's still lagging. And that's definitely a scary situation here right before pit stops.
And everyone that once was all scattered with that blinking issue, it's brought everyone else back into this thing. Side-by-side action all the way through. I think everyone else is getting ready to hop on Noah's Ark based on the way they're running.
Yeah, this is going to get real dicey, Sam, because the one thing you don't want to do is, be stuck on that outside when you're ready to pit here. And it'll be really interesting to see how aggressive some of these guys get to try to get back to the inside.
As we're looking on screen, our top 18 all within a second of one another, as they're all on top, ready for a push to go forward. But at the same time, how do you'd imagine if you're on the high side, you're just thinking, hey, I'll just drop all the way to the back, because you need to find that spot to drop in the bottom. As we're inching closer and closer, around 3 to about 5 laps, until we start seeing drivers pull into the pits. But it's already in the back of their mind, how do I get to the inside lane as quick as possible?
Well, and typically if you're, and this is all about the team communication or the ally communication, if you will, with the guys you're comfortable with, you maybe just ride the outside and say, hey, let's let that first group pit just in case there's some craziness or caution comes out, something like that. And that's definitely a viable strategy to not be the first groups, so to speak. But I think you'll basically see 2 huge groups based on who we got in the pack up here so far.
And once again, our lead pack successfully get by the 2 of Mulrooney, who is now put down 6 laps down for that 2 machine, but still out there. And at one point, that 2 was back in, I believe, 28th position, but is slow, just based on being out there, has moved up to 26. So it's still a huge loss for the 2, points-wise, since he's been running in the top 10 every single race so far this season. This is kind of that one bump in the whole entire season of things, but that's just the case of Daytona. It's such a wild card race that you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no doubt. And, as we get closer to these green flag pit stops, Sam, something I'm watching, and a group that's probably hoping a caution comes out in the middle of these stops, is that it's about 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. That's Briar LaPrade, Garrison Hogan, Cody Welker, and Scott Taylor. They're way back there off the lead group, and, having 4 cars is not going to do it. So if this cycles through, they're going to really be hoping for a caution soon. And it sounds like Jimmy Mullis may have came over the radio and said they're pitting in. See, Will Cooley might be pitting in. Here they come.
Here they come. It's the scatter of cars. Where are they going to be placed? As you see, the 51 coming in with a head of steam. Got to make sure you do not speed coming into pit road, and I think most of them made it.
And this is a bit of a smaller initial group than I thought, but, that it's all quality guys. So they're just hoping, hey, they get in, they get out quick, and everybody else, that pits later here is going to be able to sort out on their own, as we still got a pretty decent-sized group here on the track.
Still a very good group of cars up here, and leading the charge up here is going to be the 86 as well as the 16 being up front. But yeah, you can tell much smaller than it once was, as drivers that were in the pits looking like the 17 cars. Another group comes in, and I was surprised that it wasn't the whole entire field that came in that time, making sure don't speed under pits and entering, as that's going to hurt you drastically for a lot of these machines.
Yeah, you also got to be careful of trying to get filed into the pits and make sure you don't cross somebody's nose. That deal. So we're going to have three groups. I thought we were going to have two big groups. We're going to have three different groups here, all about anywhere between 8 to 10 cars. So this last group here, led by Derek Justice, these guys have probably the most to gain, simply because if they get in, get out quick, and stay together like they've been, they'll be able to kind of still be the head of the group. Considering they really haven't lost much time. Here they come.
They all get in line. Yeah, they all got in line, all situated for this moment as they're all trying to fan out, give each other space to slow down. And looks like the 25 was locking up a little bit. 44 locked up and almost dumped into the wall. Able to keep it straight at the moment for now, as we're actually going to be moving up to the machines that are going to be coming and cruising by. That's going to be the 90 machine, the 51. I believe actually that's Jimmy Mullis that is leading the charge of that. And that's three extremely quick machines all hooked up, coming to 15 laps to go. I mean, 16 laps when they cross the line, but they don't have the lead just yet. As this front group, I think they might be too scattered at the moment.
Yeah, they did not get out very well in terms of getting in and getting out quick, because I think Jimmy Mullis, Donovan Strauss, Zach Novak, Will Cooley, these guys are going to wind up taking the lead pretty easy. Finlayson also, so this is probably
that is a strong 5 cars.
It might be the strongest 5 you can put together out of the combination of this field. So we'll see how far ahead they're able to get everybody else.
I mean, the front 3 of this 5 group, these are the 3 machines that have been jostling back and forth for our lead for the past 30 laps. And then you've also got the drivers that had the pole and second place of Cooley and Finlayson, but they still haven't gotten the lead just yet, as they've caught up to the drivers that finally got up to speed. Leading the pack right now is actually the 41 of Brandon Mercurio, who we saw back on lap number 5 drop all the way to the back on the apron.
Yeah, how about Mercurio and Eddie Kerner getting some work? They got together out of pit road, made sure they were hooked up, and that's what I'm talking about, folks. It's not about the number of cars, it's about how fast you just get hooked up with a couple of guys, and because of that, they position themselves right up here in front.
As it's 15 laps to go, we're actually going to be giving a quick shout out to JD Laird, who just is having his birthday. JD, happy birthday, man, and thanks for having us up here in the booth broadcasting this race.
Yeah, obviously JD had a hand in a lot of these beautiful paint schemes we see out on track today, so obviously well known in what he does, so congrats.
Moving on the outside, that's going to be Zach Novak in the 90 machine, cruising his way up into the lead and trying to easily get that position back that he really has been up front, jostling back and forth between the 51 and himself.
And how about that 44, Zach Nichols? That was a guy we have not seen pretty much in this entire race, with the exception of, maybe kind of back of the lead pack. But he's found himself right in the middle, along with Brian Mercurio as well, obviously in that 41. So a couple new faces up here in this lead group now.
Yeah, drivers we haven't really seen up front, and a driver that we had but was caught up in that second caution of the day, the 25 of Terrell Baker, up to 9th place up here in this front group. Had a little bit of contact, but still up here, as well as Derek Justice, and also the 84 of Fisher. It's a lot of drivers that are hungry for a good finish here today that could be setting them up even better in points coming here later in this run.
And how about the tail end lead pack as well right here? Will Klein. I don't think we knew he was on the track. He's got a little bit of fender damage. He's made his way back up here. I mean, it's interesting to see how this has panned out, Sam. And here they go, maybe starting to get through wide again a little bit for this lead.
Well, here's the thing that's wild about Will Klein, because he was one of the drivers that had the most damage, probably, from besides the 2 machine. I mean, not the 2, but the 13 on that first caution. I mean, that's some adversity being shown here for the 48, who was a part of that first caution. Slowly has been working his way up forward, and now on the tail end of this lead lap, still has a chance to win this thing with 12 laps to go.
And it's really starting to get tight between those 2 lines, Sam. You see Mullis there on the straightaway kind of squeezing Novak a little bit, using some of that side draft to try to take away from the inside run.
Trying to squeeze them make a mistake. At the same time, hoping that mistake makes them back off of the throttle and not drift up into them.
And how about this inside line? Those 4 cars just really good push there down the backstretch. And they're going to take that advantage as they go off into the corner. Strauss is not letting up on Zach Novak in that 51.
As we've got our front runners, this is 14th to the lead that are all up here. But that second pack is being led by Nick Massey, Shane Tarian, and also the 86 machine. Just 3 machines. And that is just not enough power if you want to catch up to this 14-car pack, as they will most likely just be running there hoping for a caution to come out to give them a second chance to battle for the lead.
Yeah, and speaking of, Donovan Strauss and Derek Justice right there almost collided. Strauss has got left out to dry, tried to jump to the outside. Novak blocked, and Strauss tried to go to the third line, but Mullis, of course, chose Zach Novak instead of Strauss. So Strauss dropped back, and he tried to insert himself into the draft again, and that caused chaos with him, Derek Justice.
And now you got Derek Justice and Kirkner is going to be trying to make that 99 machine and as well the 51 and the 16. They're going to try to work together to get moving forward. We've seen Derek Justice try to make this third lane work, and he's gotten himself up to about 4th place. That's as far as he's gotten to go up forward before everyone else kind of ditches him. Do you think anyone else is going to be trying to work with this 16 machine that, if he has enough friends, could be moving up front and possibly to the lead?
Yeah, I mean, hey, he could get Kerner, he could get, Strauss, and maybe a couple of stragglers there at the tail end of the lead pack that say, hey, you know what? We've been jaded too a little bit on the outside. Let's go ahead and work together. But Brian Mercurio led that last lap in that 41, along with the 44 being right behind him of Zach Nichols. And here goes Zach Nichols now after Mercurio moved up. He might be able to lead a lap.
You've got Zach Nichols, Mercurio leading the middle and inside line, but on the outside line, it's Cooley who's getting a lot of help from Derek Justice. We're 3 wide, 9 laps to go in this race. Who's going to get this thing done? And I think Zach Novak stuck in that middle line is not where he wants to be because he has nowhere and no move to make.
No, he is boxed in, and that is the last spot you want to be when you are a guy that could be, up there leading. And because of that, this is what Novak does. This is a trick you can learn here is he's going to push really hard in the middle line if anybody jumps up in front of him. If not, he's just going to charge hard as you're seeing Mercurio go back down to the bottom. Now Novak has a chance.
He's seeing this chopper cam following suit. These drivers are all on top of one another. 3 wide action on the 4th row back. As they're seeing some cars blinking in and out, you got to be careful not to blink into someone else who've already telegraphed that earlier on. As I'm very curious to see that 25 machine of Baker. We saw how strong he was before that incident that he was a part of. Does he still have that speed just to move himself possibly to the outside and push that outside lane? Or is he going to continue doing what he's doing, which is slowly inching his way forward on the inside line?
Yeah, he definitely might have to inch his way forward depending on how heavy that damage was. But he's probably just thankful to be back up here in the lead pack as they're getting ready to work around Aaron Mulroney Jr. again. Or Mulroney Jr. again, excuse me. And that's causing them to kind of 2x2 it out here instead of that 3 wide.
And everyone should be able to get by the 2 machine cleanly as everyone kind of scatters just a little bit there. Coming out of the corner and coming out of 4. I mean, it looks like these drivers, some of them just don't look comfortable as it just scatters them around, get a little bit of loose and trying to get back into line. Is coming out of 4 or is it going through the tri-oval probably one of the trickiest areas here at Daytona?
I would say in that situation, especially when you have a lap down car that you're trying to work around, I'd say the tri-oval. I mean, it could get real dicey on you without you even realizing it real quick. 4, with the sunrise that they're facing here, maybe they're struggling to see a little bit because that's where the sun's hitting the most out of the corner right now. And that's definitely, something to kind of monitor as we get in the final couple laps.
Mercurio tried to block and he got shoved by Novak there, and the 90 machine said, hey, you go to the outside lane and drop to the back. It was fun seeing you up front.
Yeah, we are in that no lift zone, as I would call it. Nobody is going to give you any breaks if you try to change lanes. And sure enough, unfortunately for Mercurio, that's what you saw there. And now it's Zach Nichols just has quietly gained control of this bottom line. I mean, he's been working with Mercurio there. He's got Jacob Fisher right behind him, some consistent cars. And we'll see if Novak and Mullis maybe have some, or if the third lane develops again here in the closing laps.
I'm pretty sure if anyone's going to make that third lane work, it's going to be Derek Justice bringing someone along with them. You've also got Cooley in the back and a Kirkner, that those drivers thinking about possibly moving forward. But that outside lane is probably the strongest lane of cars, just based on what we've seen all race long of the drivers that have been up front. But you cannot count out that inside lane, as Nichols has just been cruising on the inside, getting pushed by Fisher.
Yeah, Nichols has just looked super smooth. I mean, you could tell, some guys might be a little wavy in the corners because they're uncomfortable, being behind somebody. But when you're out front like that, you don't even have to worry about it. You just got to hold your line, and the rest hopefully follow you. And, that can be a bit troublesome sometimes because you get complacent and all of a sudden you bounce off the apron. But, no, Nichols is looking really good on that inside.
On the third lane, trying to move his way forward. We talked about those two possibly getting hooked up. It's Derek Justice and Kirkner up to the third lane, just the two of them. I mean, that's the power of a two-car tandem. There's 4 laps to go. They are running that outside line and running and trying to keep the lead, but Zach Novak in the middle, as well as the 44 on the inside, saying otherwise.
Yeah, I would say Derek Justice is without a doubt probably one of those powerful pushers that you just want to have on the super speedway. But because they only had 2 cars, Kerner and Justice, they're going to just fall back a little bit. And now they're going to have to reform it, and maybe Bulls kind of peeked a block there, Sam, for a second.
A block, possibly trying to get some help, possibly. There's only 4 cars on that outside lane. If he moves up, that's going to be 5 on the outside lane, just dropping it to 4 on the middle. So if you can try to, if your spotter's telling you, hey, move up, get work and help that outside lane out, you could really start making a train move. As it's 3 laps to go, 3 wide action up front. Honestly, anything can happen. A simple mistake could cost all these drivers, and the drivers that are about 10 to 12 seconds back are licking their lips, just waiting for something to happen up front.
No doubt about it, but boy, what a push to Derek Justice get on Kerner out of turn 2. Almost got Kerner clear to move down, but not quite. And because of that, though, Zach Novak now elects to move down and leaves that middle line for Jimmy Moles to go ahead and lead. As you see that third line fall back some more. That's the fight they're battling right here. It's just the fact that coming out of the corner and into the corner, they're going to lose some momentum.
It was 84 and the 51, making a little bit of contact there. The turn around. 2 laps to go. Contact made, and that's the 99. Almost blown up his engine, and we're still green up front.
Yeah, that one washed down quickly. That is unfortunate for Eddie Kerner. Strong car, and just, you had said it right there, Sam. Things got dicey with those guys trying to get back in the line. And as that one little mistake, and sure enough, that's going to be it for Eddie Kerner right there.
Eddie Kerner, Mercurio, and Justice all losing the front pack, as well as Henderson and all those drivers that were looking strong to possibly get hooked up and ready to go, all out of this thing. Our front runners right now of our top 10 drivers all hooked up. Coming to the white flag, it's going to be Zach Novak bringing us to the white flag, but he is not really in a safe place, as we've seen the car that's in second place looking like the better place to be at.
Yeah, and then Jimmy Bolles has got Finlayson behind him right here, and there's Baker, of course. You got Donovan Strauss on the outside. Cooley back there. Who makes the last move? Who tries to make the daring move here as we get into the backstretch in 3 and 4?
Up front, these drivers slicing and dicing. Novak trying to hold the bottom. They're 3 wide behind him. He's got to cover the whole entire track at this point. That middle lane going to be dropping back as there's a ton of smoke in front of him. That's for cars that have already spun out, but it's all about up front. Zach Novak, he's got no one to work with. They're breaking to the back behind him and coming on the inside, outside possibly. It's going to be the 84 Fisher. Fisher's coming. He's got some help. Contact. It's the 24 Vishnoccu, and it's Zach Novak across the line.
What a finish right there off turn 4. How about Zach Novak just defending the entire track? A little bit of bumping, but hey, that's what you got to do right there to take the win. What a finish. And, back there in the pack, it looked like Donovan Strauss and that back half of the pack, for whatever reason, got together trying to jockey for position. Finlayson, unfortunately, he got involved in that one, but, what a race.
Oh, my goodness. Zach Novak, he saw that it was 3 wide behind him, and that mirror was full of machines. like I said, he had to cover the whole entire track and practically did so. Had to bump finisher on the on the outside, and then I don't know if Cosman's pass was legal because he was getting pretty close to cutting that double yellow line on making a pass forward. So that is something to watch out for later on. But unofficially, Cosman is a no-shoe, getting second place, Fisher in third, and this helps Fisher a ton points wise as he's fourth in points, only 7 points back. But the biggest winner on points thus far looks like it'd be Jimmy Mullis and that 46 machine, who looks like he will be gifted the points lead based on where everyone's running right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned that maybe questionable pass by Ianoshu going under the line. Typically with iRace in most leagues, hey, if you're coming to the finish, as long as you're not blatantly throwing under that yellow for just whatever reason, they'll let it slide. That one, obviously, things were going chaotic. So I imagine that will probably stand for Cosman there, and he'll bring home that second. But man, yeah, Mullis benefits big, and then Jacob Fisher as well. You would assume probably just inches closer to the lead. He gained a couple points on Mullis, so it's gonna be interesting to see how the points shake out after this one.
And Zach Novak backing it up and going to be pulling it into pit lane. Zach Novak gets the win here in the 90 machine. Cosmin is no shoes second. Jacob Fisher, Zach Cooley, Zach Nichols, Will Clint, and man, so much happened in that final lap of cars. Like we saw the accident of machines scattering, coming through turn number 3, and then at the end there, Zach Novak getting the win. I mean, Tyler, that was just chaos.
Chaos, but also what I would call top class chaos. I mean, the definition of how talented some of these super speedway guys are is how well you could hold it to the end. Obviously, we never really had a huge wreck. I would say it was more kind of a couple pockets of wrecks, and these guys did an excellent job putting on a great show and just really put their full skills on display. And of course, Zach Novak, big win here today. Started 22nd. He takes it home.
And we're going to be starting with our interviews with third place Jacob Fisher and Tyler. We're going to let you lead the way as we're going through the rest of the results as we're going through these interviews.
Hey, Jacob, it's Tyler. It's Sam up here in the booth. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, my goodness, man, you were probably the guy that was, I'd say, the most quiet top 10 runner up there. I mean, you're up there the entire time, but you're always kind of, behind somebody or maybe second or third in line. Take us through there at the end. You had a shot. What did it come down to for you there at the end?
Well, we were looking good coming into the white flag there. I was kind of content with just riding behind the 44, and then just from my point of view, things got jumbled up off of two. Me and Jimmy got into it, and then you know shuffled around and got under the 44, and then once I lined up behind Zach going into 3, I knew I'd have to jump to the top. He was going to protect the bottom, and then luckily Cosman in the 24 got up there and pushed me, and just kind of all you can do from there. Once you get off of 4, it's kind of out of your hands. So it is what it is, but it was a good run from us.
Well, and we were talking about the points throughout today. Obviously, with Aaron having his struggles, you and Mullis were probably the two guys that stood the most to gain. And that third place finish, that's going to help out. I don't know if you'll quite take the points lead, but you'll be right there on top of Jimmy. Is that mission accomplished here at Daytona?
Absolutely. Last week at Darlington was rough for me. We were running like top 5, top 6, I think, and then had a problem on pit road and it put us behind, and just we weren't able to recover. So it was a pretty disastrous week at Darlington. Coming in here, just kind of focused on finishing the race. At the very least, finishing up front is a bonus, but at the very least, finishing the race. So it'll put us in good position, and just I said earlier on Twitter a couple weeks ago, we haven't really done anything fancy this season. We've just been consistent and chipped away at it week by week. So just taking it as it comes.
Sure. Sam, if you got any questions there.
Well, I mean, Jacob, we saw that you were going through most of this race just lingering back, and then you finally made that push there after the second caution. How was it trying to get your car set up for that final pit stop on green flag run? How stressful was it for everyone to get kind of scattered up in the right position for that pit stop?
Uh, when I think I went to the middle lane to try to get up towards the front and have a shot at getting the lead before the yellow. And I knew I had to get it done then if I wanted to get down to the bottom and pit when I wanted to, and it just didn't come together, didn't formulate. So I just kind of had to settle for a lap after the leaders pit. But myself and my teammates, Timmy Pacioli and Elliot Henderson, were able to get to pit road together and off of pit road together. And that, I think, was a big help of keeping us together in the front pack and kind of keeping us up in contention for it. But really, it was just, I tend to get taken out a lot on super speedway, so I try to focus on keeping the car together and staying in one piece and then pushing at the end. And we did that tonight, and it paid out pretty well. One spot short, but I'll take it. Better than being wrecked.
No doubt, Jacob. And of course, at this time, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you do some Kia shout outs if you need to. And thank who you need thank.
Yeah, obviously want to thank Timmy Pacioli and Ellen Henderson. They were great to work with as always, and the whole DL Performance Esports team, along with Barracuda Simtech, Rhino Gang brand merchandise, and Rogue Energy. Use your discount code DLPE at checkout. Get 10% off of any of your Rogue Energy order, and make sure to follow myself on Twitter, JF_ISH, and follow DL Performance Esports on Twitter.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's your third place finisher. Jacob Fisher today came in with a really solid points day and was up front pretty much all day. So great job, Jacob, and catch you next time.
Thanks, appreciate it, guys.
And then coming in second place, Cosmin Ishinoshu, trying that inside line, wasn't able to get it done, bringing him into the booth.
Hey, Cosmo, Tyler and Sam up here in the booth. You got us.
Hey guys, what's up?
My goodness, man, that got real crazy at the end. You were one of those guys throughout the race that kind of seemed to just be hanging back a little bit, and then at the end, you found the way to get up there and challenge for that win. Walk us through your mindset today and just kind of how the end of that one went.
You are right. Like I 100% did not expect to be where I was on the final lap. Just the way the lanes moved, I was just committed to the bottom because I'm not very confident in these tracks. So I needed like a reference point, and the yellow line is pretty big, and you can see where it's a really good reference point to where you're supposed to be. And I just followed the inside line, and everybody on the inside line kept shuffling each other out, and somehow we ended up in a position to win the race. It's
For
pretty
sure.
intense and pretty fun at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that's super speedway racing, right? And speaking of
Yeah.
intense and pretty fun, how about getting to those green flag pit stops? I mean, you guys were all kind of shuffling around, really trying to make it work there, and you definitely benefited from that round of pit stops. What kind of led you to, getting in a nice clean stop and getting with a decent group there at the end?
Well, the fun fact is they actually missed my box and had to reverse it. Um, what helped me was the fact that I didn't take as much fuel as some of the other guys. We probably would have struggled if we went all three green white checkers, but we were ready for two of them, like at least one or two, with how much fuel I took. And yeah, that was just lucky that I had someone behind to like keep me in the draft when we merged back on track. But yeah, that was about it. Yeah.
Well, Sammy, forget your question.
Yeah, I mean, Cosmin, Daytona, a wild card race, and you finished out with a second place finish, and this is going to help you a ton for points. Next week, we're going to Montreal. How are you feeling about going to a road course for round number 7?
Well, I don't like last place, but that's where we're gonna end up. I'm not very not very savvy at road courses at all.
Well, hey,
The
who
new
knows? Maybe
pedals and
today.
everything, not used to it yet.
Yeah. Well, you never know, though, right? Like today, you said you weren't super confident on these super speedways. Still found a way for second place, so you never quite know what will happen. This time, man, go ahead and do any shouts you need to do, and thank some people.
True. Well, everybody I got to thank for is in this league. Everybody that puts together the show, all the drivers, all the staff, everybody behind the scenes. It's a really good league to race in. Very competitive. Um, if you're looking for one of them, I definitely recommend it. And other than that, I don't know. Maybe follow me on Twitch if you want to see my reactions live, memes, and laugh at me. I don't know. That's about it. And you guys, obviously, for broadcasting. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh, it was a great show,
Speaking of which,
Cosman.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Great show. Congrats on that second finish, man, or second place finish, and maybe catch you next time.
Thank you, and I hope we get to talk soon.
And Cosman able to get a second place finish, but the winner of today's race is going to be Zach Novak by 9 thousandths of a second. There he is, Zach Novak.
Hey, Zach, Tyler, stand up in the booth. You got us, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Oh boy, what a wild one that was! It seemed like you and Donovan Strauss pretty much for the better part of that race. Obviously, Jimmy Mullis was there too, but you guys were just swapping that lead over and over. You were pretty aggressive up there up front to make sure you were always, within that top three. What was the mindset today, and how did you accomplish winning this?
Yeah, well, last night in the Coke Series race, I was very conservative and um, didn't really make any aggressive moves, and um, I think that cost me a chance at the win. So, today in the ERL race and then here in the ASCORS race, I decided it'd probably be a bit more fun and a bit more interesting for everybody watching to just go for broke and try and win some races. So, I was as aggressive as possible. Um, as you could probably tell with the door I gave Jacob there on the front stretch, and like I said, I was out front a lot that race, and I think I executed really well. So I definitely wanted that one.
Yeah, no doubt. You spoke about being aggressive there. Obviously, you mentioned last night in the Coca-Cola Series race, you weren't quite aggressive enough. Illustrate to the people out there at this high-level super speedway race. And obviously, this is a very talented field here that we had today. How important is it to really try to pick your spots, or in your case, really try to assert yourself when you feel like you need to?
Oh, it's huge. Especially in these Xfinity cars, they don't really hang on as well in that middle line as the Cup cars do. So that middle line, as you guys probably saw, falls off a lot through the corners, and it really allows that second car in line to jump up and um, make something happen through that middle line and get a huge run down the straightaways. So I utilized that a lot to my advantage, and um, I was either obviously leading that bottom line or the pusher in that bottom line for the most part all race. So every time I was the pusher, I'd try to instantly get up to that middle line and go back to the lead as quickly as possible, and just minimize my time pushing because at the end of the race, being the pusher, you're never really going to have a legitimate chance at the win, and unless there's certain circumstances like this race, for example, I believe Cosman was a pusher there on that last lap, and it just so happened he almost won the race. So there's only so many circumstances to where you can actually win the race from being a pusher down the back straightaway on the last lap. But I just wanted to put myself in a position where I was blocking for the win rather than the one making the move for it.
Yeah, that's fair. Choosing your own destiny for sure. Sam, of course, if you got any questions here.
Yeah, I mean, Zach, you were 10th in points coming into this race. A win helps you dramatically in the points race. Going into next week at Montreal, it's going to be a road course. How are you feeling about going road course racing next week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I've actually never done a race at all at Montreal in the Xfinity car. So obviously, I know that was a fan favorite race for everybody to watch back in the early 2010s when they went there in real life. So um, it's definitely I'm gonna need to practice a little bit for it, but it should be fun. Uh, I've been playing a lot of the new Formula One game that came out, and we recently did a league race there on the Formula One cars. So I have a little bit of the track down. It's just a matter of getting some practice on it with these big stock cars, and yeah, it should be fun.
For sure, Zach. And of course, at this time, do your shout outs. Thank who you need to thank on this win.
Yeah, just thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. Really cool to get this series broadcasted and get some eyes on it. Thanks to everybody at Richmond Raceway Esports for all their support, Sunoco Racing Fuel, Sim Seats, Coca-Cola Energy, JDR Graphics, everybody that helps put that deal together. And thanks to Jimmy and Mike and Donnie, especially for helping with pushing a lot tonight. They were big help in keeping me out front there. And thanks to JD for putting on this league. Always fun to race in here. And yeah, I'm just really excited to finally win something this week. I felt like I've been so close these past 2 days, and Should be fun going to Montreal and further on.
Sure, man. Well, definitely a big bounce back for you here today. Start 22nd. You take home the big win. Congratulations, and catch you possibly next week at Montreal.
Thanks, guys.
And that was a amazing race to watch from top to bottom. Zach Novak getting his second win of the season. He got his first win back at Chicagoland to start the season off, and now another win to help him out here moving forward. But Tyler, just to finish this broadcast off, what are some of your final thoughts of the?
Oh, I mean, just full talent on display here. A lot of guys making dicey moves, making it work. And I don't think we really got into a boring portion of the race. I mean, we got into a little bit of that lull there before pit stops, but even then, Sam, they were still finding a way to mix it up here and there. So, just fantastic action here at Daytona. And, if we get the chance next week for Montreal, it's going to be an exciting one there for sure. You're going to have some road course aces probably pop out, and you're going to have some guys that, maybe will surprise themselves a little bit there.
Completely going to be surprises to be earned for a lot of those drivers out there. And I got to say, it was fun watching Dyson up front. That was probably the most excitement we've seen in a while. It's going to be a lot of fun for the rest of for the season for these guys. Like we said, this was only race 6 of 20 for these drivers, and it continues on next week at Montreal. But for FRN tomorrow, while the action continues on at 9 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, excuse me. There, Fuel is going to be racing, and that's going to be a blast to watch in the Indy cars. But for here today, it was Zach Novak by 9 thousandths of a second getting the win here. And I want to say thank you, Tyler, for being up in the booth here with me.
Hey, thank you, Sam. Sam's the big man behind the production here, taking care of it, doing an excellent job. Couldn't do without you, my guy.
And it was a blast to watch overall. Again, my name is Sam Dyer. I've got Tyler Riggs up in the booth with me here today. And you just watched another production of the Flatout Racing Network for the ASCORS Grand National Series. They go to Montreal next week. We'll see how those guys race there. But have a great rest of your night, y'all.